Here's a guy who thinks that the idea that panspermia brought life to Earth is the same as believing in God.
The most famous atheist probably ever to exist made the most humiliating statement of admitting God exists, but just calling him by a different name. This is the video clip that most people haven't seen that probably ruined Richard Dawkins' career. Let's listen.
Last I checked, Richard Dawkins still had a career.
Then who did create the heavens and the earth?
Why do you use the word who? You see, you immediately beg the question by using the word who.
Well, then how did it get created?
Well, by a very slow process.
Well, how did it start?
Nobody knows how it started. We know the kind of event that it must have been. We know the sort of event that must have happened for the origin of life.
It seems like the subject changed mid-conversation in this clip. I think Ben Stein may have edited a bit out because the original question he asks is, who did create the heavens and the earth? And then Dawkins starts talking about the origin of life, which is a different question than the origin of the heavens and the earth.
This is in reference to like a Big Bang type scenario. But again,
no, it isn't. The origin of life and the Big Bang are two pretty distinct things.
Somebody as smart as a PhD like Richard Dawkins should know simple science in the sense of nothing or something cannot come out of nothing.
That's right. That's why there's no reason to believe that there ever was nothing. There was never a time in which nothing at all existed. In fact, it would be a contradiction to say there was a time when absolutely nothing existed, because at any time, time itself would have to exist. The idea that something can come from nothing is actually a theist idea. It is theists who believe that a god can make something come out of nothing, and with no time in which to do so.
And the Big Bang still doesn't answer the question of where this bang, where the molecules for the bang came from in the first place.
Well, there were no molecules for the Big Bang because at the time of the Big Bang, molecules didn't exist. Atoms had to form first, and molecules formed out of the atoms. What you should have asked is, where did the energy of the Big Bang come from? Because for the first 10 to the negative 12 seconds after the Big Bang, there was no matter at all. The answer to that question is that it didn't come from anywhere. It didn't come into existence because there was never a time when it didn't already exist. In the 13.7 billion years that time has existed, so has energy. It could not have come into existence because in order for something to come into existence, there has to be a time preceding its existence. Something can't come into existence if there was never a time when it wasn't already a part of existence.
What was that?
It was the origin of the first self-replicating molecule.
Right.
Where'd it come from?
From the atoms that made it up.
Where did this first self-replicating molecule come from? It didn't just come into existence. That's impossible.
You're right. It came from the atoms that made it up. Those atoms existed before that molecule did and came together to form that molecule.
That happened.
I told you we don't know.
So you have no idea how it started?
No, nor has anybody.
Nor has anyone else. What do you think is the possibility that intelligent design might turn out to be the answer to some issues in genetics or in dark?
Now, by the way, I watched an interview just as of today, actually, where he refers back to this clip, and he says that he thinks that the gentleman who is interviewing him right now was actually also an atheist and just asking him questions.
That would be weird if true, because anyone familiar with Ben Stein knows that he's a religious conservative. However, that wouldn't be the first time that Dawkins had shown himself to be culturally out of touch.
And he then goes on to say, I would not have answered this question this way if I would have known that it was somebody who believes in a creator asking the question, which I thought was really interesting because it shows that his motive isn't just to share truth or what he believes, but rather to share a specific agenda that he's trying to get pushed across to people.
It shows that he didn't know about Ben Stein's agenda, and that if he did, he wouldn't have spoken in such a way that's so easy to strawman and deceptively edit.
Well, evolution.
It could come about in the following way. It could be that...
Listen to this. This right here is the crux of his argument that like makes him admit that he doesn't even believe atheism necessarily.
At some earlier time, somewhere in the universe,
some earlier time, somewhere in the universe. Okay, I'm agreeing with this so far.
Civilization evolved by probably some kind of Darwin.
Still had to have evolution by Darwinian evolution. That's funny.
Right, because he's not talking about anything supernatural. The only coherent sense in which life on Earth could have been intelligently designed is if it was designed by another life form, which would have had to have evolved
to a very, very high level of technology and designed a form of life that they...
So a really, really intelligent group outside of our universe.
He didn't say outside of our universe. His exact words about these hypothetical beings is that they existed somewhere in the universe. You even repeated exactly what he said.
At some earlier time, somewhere in the universe,
Some earlier time, somewhere in the universe. Okay, I'm agreeing with this so far.
Did you forget what both he and you just said 21 seconds prior?
Had part to do with creating, and probably there's some sort of evolution involved anyways.
seeded onto perhaps this planet. Now, that is a possibility and an intriguing possibility.
Not only is this a possibility, it's an intriguing possibility. It means that he actually genuinely takes this possibility seriously.
No, it doesn't. There are lots of wildly improbable possibilities that are intriguing, but not something that I would ever expect to happen. The idea of extraterrestrial contact of any kind is intriguing, but I don't take seriously the idea that it's ever happened.
And I suppose it's possible that you might find evidence for that if you look at the details of biochemistry and molecular biology. You might find a signature of some sort of designer.
Wait a second.
There's a designer that is from another planet or dimension or another galaxy.
Wait, so are you accusing Dawkins of saying this hypothetical creator came from this universe or not? You keep flip-flopping on this issue.
That was smart enough, and maybe after a span of time of existence, was able to create life because they had the intelligence and the know-how and ability to do so.
Well, they wouldn't have created life per se because they themselves would have been life.
I agree. I agree with everything that Richard Dawkins just said.
Really? So you believe that the creator evolved by Darwinian evolution?
There is a creator that is somewhere outside of where we are.
You believe that God is from outside of the universe. Dawkins explicitly said that his hypothetical intelligent designer would have come from somewhere inside of the universe.
Or who created everything. Yeah, his name is Yahweh, and he created everything.
Dawkins did not say that this hypothetical intelligent designer created everything.
You want to call him an alien and really think about why he would call him an alien?
Because he said that such a being would have evolved by Darwinian processes. That would be true of aliens. It would not be true of Yahweh.
Or this creator thingy, an alien versus calling him God or Yahweh or Yeshua or Jesus. There's only one really clear evident reason for this. And it's because if you believe what he is saying right here, then that means that you are able to skirt past any sort of moral accountability or responsibility, but still believe the same fundamental principle that a creator created everything.
Well, first of all, I don't believe in Dawkins's hypothetical creator, and neither does he. That's the nature of hypothetical scenarios. In philosophy, they're sometimes called counterfactuals because they are not factual. Secondly, is that how objective morality works? All it takes to skirt past any moral accountability is to call the authority enforcing that morality an alien? Can I get out of a speeding ticket by saying that the cop who pulled me over is an alien from another galaxy? Do you think Dawkins believes that he can just get away with sinning by calling God an alien?
What? The fact that the most intelligent atheist of our day...
Every apologist seems to think that Dawkins is way smarter than most atheists think he is.
Came to the conclusion that a creator created everything, to me is absolutely insanity.
He didn't come to that conclusion. He proposed a hypothetical scenario in which an intelligent creator could have created life on Earth, and not even life per se. He did not propose that such a creator created everything, and he proposed this as a mere possibility and not as what he believes to be the most probable explanation for the existence of life on this planet.
This is the most weak thing I've ever heard in any of this very intellectual man's arguments. Really?
Even I've heard Dawkins say weaker things. Did you not read the tweets he wrote about whining about the TSA taking his jar of honey away?
Is all the atheistic arguments that he's ever done, and if you really look at all of his debates that he's ever done, his real debate, his real push, his real emphasis is on evolution. It's not even on there being a lack of a God. Now, obviously, he wrote The God Delusion and all the reasons that he thinks that, especially the Christian God, is a messed up one for the things that he believes are unethical done in the Old Testament, which is ironic because he's an atheist, so he has no such thing as ethics anyways, an objective standard of ethics, excuse me.
And why would you need an objective standard of ethics to be appalled by the way Yahweh is portrayed as behaving in the Old Testament?
So, by the way, for all you atheists in the comments, what I did not just say is that he's not able to be ethical or moral. He just has no standard for ethics or moral.
And you're wrong about that, too. A subjective standard is still a standard.
So you can say that he feels like what he's doing is moral, but there's no such thing as morality anyways. He could do what he's doing or he could pillage, and neither of them are moral or immoral. They're just They just are. We're just molecules dancing in motion to the beat of our own DNA, like he believes, right?
So there's no such thing as subjective standards? And by the way, even if there is a God, morality would still be subjective, because even if morality comes from God, God himself is a subject. If the source of morality is a subject, then it is, by definition, subjective. Also, there's no objective, non-circular reason why we ought to do what God says.
He even mentions in another debate that I've seen where he's actually not debating, but he's having a conversation with another atheist in front of a live crowd, and they talk about the reality of the gaps in the evolutionary process. So they're saying, you know, we have us today, we have fish, and those fish turned into humans after hundreds of millions of years, more than likely, but we don't have any half fish, half men. And why is that?
Because fish have to evolve into several intermediate species first. However, in a sense, the earliest therapsids were half fish, half man. They are human ancestors that existed about halfway between when fish started to crawl onto land and now.
To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.